The decisive match of Georgia against Ukraine. What a shootout these beauties have arranged. And what kind of madness is happening in South America? Insanity and fanaticism and a terrifying attack on the head coach of Mexico right on the soccer field. Chelsea is the new club of Paul Pogba. Rafinha is going to Arsenal for a record sum for the club. And Rodri wants to move to Barcelona to play under the leadership of Hansi Flick. Perhaps this will be one of the best transfers of the Catalans in their entire history. And we're talking about this and much more today. Friends, this is Dose of Football and the top 10 most interesting news to this hour. Don't forget that a new video is already on our second channel and another one will appear tomorrow, so be sure to check it out. The link is in the pinned comment. And don't forget, 5,000 thumbs up. Today, a new video, tomorrow. Well, I wish you a pleasant appetite and a pleasant viewing. The Kosovo team left the field during the match with the Romanian team. The Kosovars didn't wait for just a couple of minutes until the end of the game. Already in the compensated time, the Kosovo footballers saw a Serbian flag in the stands and started complaining to the referee. Romanian fans in response started chanting Serbia and throwing objects onto the field. After which, Kosovo's defender, Lombard Della, showed the stands the same gesture in the form of a double-headed eagle, the symbol of Kosovo and Albania, for which he was fined in his time. The Romanians say they are not to blame, and if anyone needs to be punished, it's the Balkans. The Romanian Football Federation has issued a statement condemning Orlov's behavior. We consider the accusations from Kosovo to be unfounded and are firmly convinced that the actions were premeditated. We express our gratitude to almost 50,000 Romanian fans who were present at the stadium for maintaining civilized behavior and, as far as possible, refraining from reacting to the provocations of the Kosovo players. In its statement, the Romanian Football Federation emphasized that there were no Russian shouts or Kosovo is Serbia chants during the match, which was precisely recorded by the Union of European Football Associations delegate. The Romanians are counting on a technical defeat of the Kosovars and see this option as the only possible way out of the situation. In their view, the conduct of the Kosovo delegation, particularly its players, exemplifies how not to act in professional sports. And Napoli's defender and Kosovo national team member Amir Rahmani says that the very same whistle did indeed take place, and it was precisely because of it that the Eagles left the field. The Kosovo Football Federation also accused the organizers of lack of security, and also stated that the representative of the Romanian side interfered in the opponent's press conference, and then even threatened and attacked the Kosovo players in the corridor. How this story will end is not yet clear. A technical draw is quite possible for the Balkans. Although it seems to me AVF would prefer to wrap up this matter and count the zeros, which indeed were not confirmed by the final whistle. Cristiano Ronaldo had a minor crisis, scoring only once in his last 6 meals before the game with the Poles. The statistics weighed on him, and he wanted to stand out, even yelling at the referee for not awarding a penalty at the end of the first half, earning a yellow card. In the second half, he and the Portuguese team were let go, seeming to have thrown off a burden that prevented them from spreading their wings. A completely different team came out for the second half and literally destroyed their opponent. Cristiano contributed to the rout of the Poles with 2 goals, scoring from a penalty and on his own. He also showed how much he is valued in his native Portugal, when he celebrated the scored balls together with the stands. How long will this interesting situation last? But Ronaldo is not young. How long can he still delight fans with his game? In fact, this has been a hot topic for discussion for a year now. Ronaldo is approaching an age when you start thinking about how to manage players from the coaching bridge, not about how to run around the field for an hour and a half in a row, trying not to blow out your lungs. Everyone is interested, when will Ronaldo end his career? After the match with the Poles, he answered this question. But I want to quickly reassure Portuguese fans. This will not happen soon, at least not in the next few years. I just want to enjoy this time. Do I have any plans regarding the end of my career? Let's see what happens in a year or two. I'm about to turn 40, and I want to continue enjoying the game. I will play as long as I feel motivated. I will end my career when the motivation is gone, the Portuguese said. Considering how he constantly strives to win and score goals, Cristiano can play until he's 50. By that time, he will have broken all possible goal records. Currently, the Portuguese has 135 balls for the national team. The nearest pursuer is hopelessly behind. To catch up with him, Messi needs to score 23 goals. And with his current performance, this is unrealistic. Moreover, Ronaldo is gradually approaching the milestone of 1,000 balls. I remember how Pelé recently congratulated Ronaldo on his 90th goal, and in this time he has already managed to score another dozen, despite the crisis. Still, no one can match him in bombing skills, and he's good at taking penalties. And if you disagree, explain this in the comments. Barcelona is trying to outbid Real Madrid for the transfer of Alphonso Davies, but so far unsuccessfully. The Canadian is still intent on moving to Santiago Bernabeu, but the Catalans still need to give their eternal rivals a hard time. If they can't manage to transfer Davies, they'll try to sign another real target. According to the source, Barcelona is attempting to secure Rodri's transfer. Has Juan Laporta finally realized that the team needs not only famous players with a loud name? There was a mistake. Rodri currently holds the golden ball. It turns out again that Laporta is planning to make a hype purchase. But if this transfer is beneficial to the club, then why not? Moreover, the Spanish media report that Rodri prefers to move to Camp Nou. There are two reasons for this. First, he considers Hansi Flick's style more suitable. Secondly, a move to Real Madrid would be seen as a betrayal to Atletico, his former club. But I doubt there is even that much truth in this information. Rodri's potential departure from Manchester City is not a secret. Next summer, many of the starting lineup might leave the Citizens, especially if they are relegated to the second division. Theoretically, Real and Barca can sign the midfielder despite the financial crisis. But is the difference between Hansi Flick and Xabi Alonso that great? After all, no one will deny that the Spaniard is very likely to become Real's coach this summer. I think Rodri also knows about his possible appointment. Both coaches preach total football, with similar demands from their players. Yes, in Flick's system, the role of the defensive midfielder is more important. Alonso prefers box-to-box players, but Rodri is so versatile that he would fit into any coach's philosophy. As for the possible advantage of the Spaniard, I wouldn't rush to such conclusions. Atletico and Real have a long history of transfers between them. Alvaro Morata comes to mind, who moved from Atletico's academy to Real's youth team. And then after playing for the main team, he ended up in the Rojiblancos squad. No one stoned him for it. Thibaut Courtois and Theo Hernandez also feel great. I don't think club fans are deeply upset about former players moving to rival clubs. Not that I was lobbying for Rodri's transfer to Real, but the arguments of the Spanish press seemed unconvincing to me. That's why I expressed my opinion. Victor Asimhen's name is increasingly mentioned among major European football clubs. There's nothing surprising here. The Nigerian consistently plays well, regardless of where he performs. Asimhen started scoring an enviable number of goals back when he was playing for the Belgian Charleroi, when he was just 20. He then moved to Lille, where his statistics remained flawless. After a season, Napoli bought him, with whom Asimhen took a historic championship, being the best player of the season. On his productivity also did not say any conflict with the leadership, and moved to a specific championship of Turkey, where he continues to stably score goals. The only thing that prevents his transfer to a European grant is the greed of De Laurentiis and the behavior of Savo Asimhen. But in the near future, he should still get into the elite league. At the moment, there are two confident contenders for him. These are London's Chelsea and French Paris Saint-Germain. The latter offers him fabulous conditions. But it will be a pity if Asimhen goes to play in the championship of one team again. This is not the place where you can fully express yourself. And even if you do, no one will still consider your merits. Asimhen needs to go to the most competitive league to fight for the title of the best. He will have a choice, as Manchester United also prepares to battle for the transfer of the Nigerian forward. The Red Devils management does not believe that they will be able to sign Victor Dekars in the near future. And Ruben Amorim needs a strong forward. The only problem is that Napoli has not given up on its financial ambitions. The Devils were interested in Asimhen over the summer, but when they heard the price, they backed out of the negotiations. Now the management is trying to convince De Laurentiis to agree to a swap with an additional payment. Who exactly they are planning to offer to the family is still unknown, but jokes are bad with the president of Napoli. If they try to slip in some nonsense, they will regret it quickly. Asimhen is not the one to skimp on when it comes to purchases. Thanks to Ten Hag's cadence, MU has attracted many top players who simply did not come to the team's court. For example, the Devils can offer Rasmus Højlund, Joshua Zirkzee, and many others. The exchange fund allows. However, Offering favorable conditions to De Laurentiis is one thing, and winning the competition for Asimhen is quite another. I'm sure other grands will catch up soon, who want to sign such a classy forward. Barcelona was on the verge of selling Rafinha in the summer window. The Brazilian was one of those footballers who were ready to sacrifice for the improvement of the financial situation. But no one could offer conditions that would immediately satisfy Laporta. Only for this reason, Rafinha stayed in Barcelona. But the Catalan fans have no regrets. His new season progress is simply unbelievable. In the last draw, his position was marginal. He seems to be a good footballer, but he can be sold if a good offer comes. However, everything changed in the new campaign. Rafinha became indispensable, one of the best in Europe in his position. However, the Catalans' financial hardships were not apparent. They seem to have signed a contract with Nike, but there's no money yet, and the fair play continues to put pressure on Barcelona. In the fight against the crisis, the Catalans might take a crazy step and still sell Rafinha. And many will not understand such a move from Joan Laporta. They will definitely be cleaning up his mess for the first time. But if the deal brings financial stability, they will forgive him for such an adventure over time. Of course, there won't be a backlash from the proposals this time. Every team wants to have such a player in their lineup. According to the source, Arsenal recently inquired about transferring Rafinha. Mikel Arteta personally wants to see Wenger in his lineup. Overall, based on the latest news, it can be concluded that the Gunners are preparing to sign a left winger. Someone to replace Martinelli, whose effectiveness has decreased over the last 2 seasons. It is still unknown how Barcelona responded to Arsenal's request. But the source notes that the Gunners are planning to conduct active negotiations for the transfer of the Brazilian. Of course, Barca will insist on a large compensation. Arsenal shouldn't let Wenger go to Barcelona for less than $150 million. Otherwise, the fans will drag Laporta over the coals if he cheapens the sale of the Brazilian. But is Arsenal ready to spend that kind of money? There are also cheaper options on the shortlist of the Gunners. For instance, West Ham's Mohamed Kudus, whose transfer will cost $85 million. But if it's Mikel Arteta's personal wish, maybe the management will loosen the purse strings and spend a record sum for Rafinha's transfer. And Barcelona, as usual, might be able to find a new player in the team's academy. Moreover, Xanthi FC is good at working with young lads. In his first matches, the German once again revealed the talents of Marc Casado and Marc Bernal, and managed to easily get out of the crisis of the central line staff. In short, he will find someone to replace Rafinha. Have you ever thought about the fact that Kylian Mbappe might end his career in the national team? Not always, of course, but for the time being while the team is led by Didier Deschamps. And who knows how long the coach will stay in his position. He has already been in his position for over 10 years. What are the chances that he will leave in the near future? Perhaps a player's revolt could somehow shorten his tenure as the head of the team. But it seems that he has become so entrenched in French football that the federation itself does not want to part with the coach. Many years may pass before Kylian Mbappe returns to the national team's disposition. Given the Frenchman's temperament, he might eventually go crazy and retire permanently. Imagine how the situation has changed in just a couple of years. Recently, Mbappe was hailed as a legendary golden boy and carried on hands by the team. In his young years, he helped the team win the World Championship, and it seemed that he would become its new leader. So it was, but briefly. Mbappe showed his dark side. Deschamps also turned out to be not the most indulgent character, and their principledness could lead to the fact that Mbappe will end his career in the national team. Ex-French national player Louis Say believes such a scenario would be disastrous. Mbappe's rapport with France's national team is tense, making his exit seem plausible. Conflicts with the Federation and Deschamps deepen the rift. If he decides to leave, it will be a blow to the national team. Now, Kylian needs to show that he can regain faith in himself, but it will take time, Sa said. For the record, I think that early popularity hit Mbappe hard in the head. They were ready to fetch stars from the sky for him. The new leader soon realized he could exploit his role. He provoked a conflict with the longtime team leader, Olivier Giroud, taking away his captain's armband. But he didn't stop there, and he himself started to decide when he needs to go to the team. I understand him, of course. Not everyone wants to play in such a trashy tournament as the League of Nations. But nonetheless, he has responsibilities, and he must fulfill them, especially since Mbappe has earned himself a captain's armband. But let's be honest, he wanted to spit on these responsibilities. If he wants, he will start blackmailing the team. Like, I will leave if Disha is not fired. And what? It's a completely realistic scenario. But a wonderful career awaited Paul upon his return to Juventus. 10 years ago, a young and strong Frenchman shone in the jersey of the Turin team, and then moved to Old Trafford for a record sum of money. Initially, things were okay. Pogba won trophies and even won the World Championship during his performances for Manchester United, but his career sharply went downhill after that. Pogba began to suffer injuries and he started to consult with shamans. Even then, it was clear that nothing was shining for him in Manchester, but suddenly a beautiful option appeared on the horizon. He had the opportunity to return to Juventus, where he spent the best years of his career. Such a move should have inspired Pogba to pull himself together, heal his wounds, and leave beautifully, shining towards the end. Pogba's return to Juventus was characterized by injuries, subpar performances, and a lengthy suspension with no improvements. After the court reviewed the appeal and issued a positive decision, the Turin could have kept Pogba, but they didn't want to. They officially terminated his contract, and now the Frenchman has to find a new home. Of course, I would have liked to see Pogba in a competitive European environment, in Marseille or some mid-table English Premier League team. So far, there are only rumors about his potential move to Saudi Arabia and Major League Soccer. Okay, actually there is one very interesting news that I hardly believe, but still think it's necessary to tell about it. It's about Pogba's move to Stamford Bridge. Considering the minor financial demands of the defender, Chelsea is practically taking no risk by signing him. But what's the benefit for the footballer himself from this transfer? In a team of veterans and without extensive practice, he's unlikely to be able to handle it. But without extensive practice, he's unlikely to be able to handle it. But it would be cool to see what Pogba can do in such a team. Even if he only plays a couple of matches and manages to hit the ball at least once, I would consider it a success. In the end, what's the demand for him? He used to be a world-class star, but now he's just a scandalous player with a loud name, but without any special expectations from his game. Latin American football is a separate kind of sport. Yes, on average, the South American team is now inferior to their European colleagues in quality. But fans can often give a head start to Europeans. A fan of the Argentine Racing climbed over the fence with a ring of wire and burst into tears after the club's exit to the South American Cup final. And this is how Racing met its opponent. The fire show is no worse than what we see in the Bundesliga. Fans of the Uruguayan Penarol also express class at South American matches. The shots from the stands are stunning. Federico Valverde can be proud of the fans of his home club, and how the River Plate fans support their team. But passion is not only about stunning performances. Honduras unexpectedly defeated Mexico at home in the first playoff match of the Confederation of North, Central American, and Caribbean Association Football League. But the game was remembered not for the result. Throughout the game, Honduras fans were heckling the head coach of Mexico, Javier Aguirre. The coach eventually got fed up and flipped off the crowd with both middle fingers. He was dismissed immediately after the final whistle. A full beer can flew at Aguirre's head. Blood was drawn, but Aguirre acted as if nothing had happened. Imagine how most modern players would have reacted in his place. Neymar, Vinicius, and other simulators. Many fall on the lawn from plastic cups, and here's a can weighing half a kilo, and its speed. It was clearly painful, but Javier didn't complain at the post-match press conference. The coach said, nothing. This is football. Honduras deserved the victory. There's nothing left to do but congratulate them and try to lift the spirits of my team. Another thing, there's no point even mentioning this incident because it's football, and I'm not one to complain. After such, it's simply impossible not to respect this gentleman. Personally, I will be rooting for his team in response to the match with Honduras. Georgia and Ukraine had a thrilling duel in Batumi. The Georgians, after a confident start in the League of Nations, did not achieve positive results in the last two meetings. They lost to Albania in the same Ukraine. The question of class promotion is hanging in the air. At first, there were no issues whatsoever. The Georgian national team beat Albania in an away match and defeated the Czech Republic 4-1. 6 points in 2 rounds practically guaranteed her first place. But then unpleasant setbacks occurred. A few matches before the stage ended, the confidence faded away. The Ukrainians also could not afford to lose. Compared to their rivals, their tournament start was awful. They didn't have a single point in their account after the first 2 rounds. The situation only began to stabilize near the end. Nevertheless, they remained in last place in the group, risking relegation to League C. That would have disgraced Rebrov's charges. In short, none of the teams could afford to lose points. Both teams needed a win, Georgians for promotion, Ukrainians to maintain their status. That's why the teams gave it their all on the field. The hosts had the advantage of the home stadium. They immediately flew forward and could have scored in the first minutes. But Ukraine withstood the starting storm and then went on the attack itself. And one of the combinations ended with a goal. A Georgian defender deflected Mikhail Mudrik's shot into his own goal. In Varakvel's defense, if he hadn't attempted to intercept, the ball would have reached a Ukrainian attacker, making it easier for them to score. After the goal, the game evened out, but the team kept pressuring the opponent's goal. Though strikes were rare, the ball seldom reached the field's center. The second half started the same way as the first, with active attacks on Anatoly Trubin's goal. The attacks became more fierce, but Ukraine once again withstood the Georgian assault. And then, when it seemed that the Ukrainians had taken over the ball, and the same thing that happened in the first half started, the Georgian team made a striking cut and evened the score, after which the hosts were not joking. They flew forward, wanting to snatch victory, but almost missed the ball. Fortunately, the team has a classy goalkeeper in Mamardashvili, who saved them from defeat by making 2 difficult saves in one instance. All in all, a quite ordinary result. Ukrainians now need to win in the last round against Albania. Otherwise, they face a humiliating relegation. Any other result will not do. Nevertheless, Josep Guardiola's era at Manchester City continues. As anticipated, the Catalan will soon renew his contract with the Citizens. And this is regardless of whether Manchester City gets relegated to the Championship or stays. Guardiola will continue to manage the team. He has agreed with the garage management on a new agreement, which will be calculated for another season. The deal's financial details are unknown, but I think everything will stay the same. The current conditions should not upset the Catalan coach. He gets 20 million euros per season, making him the highest paid coach in the Asian Premier League. And soon he will have the opportunity to achieve the same status in the Championship. What else can one dream of? Seriously though, Manchester City needs Guardiola. He has to solve the growing personnel problem in the center of the field, where only pensioners are playing. Also, Rodri might depart the team if they are demoted to the second division. And the halfback is the most important line in Manchester City's philosophy. If nothing changes, results will deteriorate. But given the financial resources, the Citizens will rapidly acquire new personnel. Until there are no specifics, who the team is planning to strengthen the lineup with. Various rumors are going around, for example, about the purchase of a defender from Arena Samuel Ritchie for 50 million euros. That's if we're talking about replacing Rodri. Xavi Simons is being considered as an alternative for Kevin De Bruyne. Bilgeets is not having the best season, and it seems like he will finish his career in the summer. Additionally, the Citizens are tracking Georgi Sudakov, Alex Baez, and other attacking midfielders. Of course, we currently do not see these footballers as worthy replacements for Rodri and De Bruyne. But this is the challenge for Pep Guardiola. He needs to turn young Ritchie into the new Rodri, and also make a second De Bruyne out of Bayern. Whatever the verdict in the case of Manchester City's financial violations, Guardiola will have a lot of work to do after this season ends. Garajan is expecting a restructuring, which luckily for them, is headed by a bald genius. That's all for today. Thanks for watching and subscribing. Friends, don't forget that our channel now also has its own radio show on Radio Chanson America. Be sure to check out the link in the description. Well, my name is Kirill Cast, and this was your daily dose of football. Peace to your home and Johanga friends.